Hey guys, thanks for checking out this commentary video. I usually when I pick up a class or I'm trying to do some research for a progress boss that's coming up, I usually specifically try and look out for commentary videos on top of the usual, POV videos and general tactic videos. I found that this tier has been quite a lack of Disc Priest commentary videos, which is quite disappointing. So I figured I'd give it a shot and create my own. Maybe this will be quite insightful for some people. Maybe also people will point out some things that I can do better. I know for sure there are things, especially on this fight, that I could improve. Ended up passing quite well on this fight for a progress boss. I think got around an 80, which I was quite proud of. I'm only a recent Disc Priest convert. I guess let's get started. I'll kick off the video. Now, for this fight, I ended up working with my healing officer to work out the best cooldowns for this. Played around a bit, figured out what worked out best for me. Let's see. On pull, obviously I pre-atoned the tank that's going to be taunting the boss. He's the only one that's going to be taking damage for the first few moments. You see the debuffs coming out for the people getting the chains. I quickly shield them and then do a radiance so that I can cover the tank weapon that's just come out. You see in the middle of my screen here, I have this timer. I can link this down in the description below. This is, I think it's called ERT note timers. And what it does is it allows you, through setting up through your exhaustus note, like your personal note, you can create these custom timers that you can just place anywhere on your screen. I use these. I think these are quite useful for disc ramps. You can also tie it to certain boss abilities. So for this fight, I set it up to show me the timer just for the traps. So when traps are coming up, I get this this bar in the middle of my screen. And now when this reaches 0, this is when the boss casts the ability. So obviously you want to be ramping a little bit before that. And I'll talk about it a bit later. But in phase 1, I found the best time to start my ramp was 4 seconds before the traps came out. Usually it's 6 seconds, but in phase 1 I do 4 seconds, as your atonements will obviously persist slightly longer into the fight, and that way you can also cover the first or the second tank weapon that comes out, as well as doing the flame clasp trap eruptions. So let's see. So we'll kick off, obviously breaking the spike ball. We've got to run through. I try and keep atonements up on the targets with the chains as much as possible. I do unfortunately let it drop off quite a few times this fight. But yeah, it's obviously best just to keep them up, just to keep, even if it's just your Purge the Wicked rolling, that's, still some healing you'll be doing. Now, for these fights, we ended up having too much DPS, and we had to hold DPS quite a lot. So usually I would be using my PI on a DPS, like a Fire Mage or a Demo Lock. Fortunately for this fight, because we had too much DPS, I was able to just PI myself, which meant I was able to get out 20 atonements every time I ramped, or near enough every time I ramped, which was, fantastic. But here we go. So it's going to hit the 4-second mark. So I start my ramp, I rapture and PI myself. I get out as many atonements as I can, usually 10. You'll see that I skip our rogues, at least this one initially. Both our rogues, I believe, are playing Necrolord. So when they start the fight, they have this huge health shield. So I typically don't. They're not the first target of my Rapture atonement, so they don't get the additional Rapture powered shield on top. But let's see, I get the 10 out. I Radiance, and then I Shadow Fiend, Radiance, put the barrier down in Advantage. One thing that, and maybe this is because I'm relatively new to Disc, one thing that I realized quite late into progress was that after I've Avenged, I shouldn't just immediately go into a full DPS rotation, Schism, Penance, Mind Blast, etc. Because I'll be doing a whole lot of overhealing on this. So what I then learned to do is you wait until one of the traps has been popped, and then you cast like Solace, you wait until another trap is cast. Popped. You know, and you want to be trying to match up your damage events with the trap damage as close as possible. What I also generally was doing was holding my penance until the tank weapon at the end went off, as the tank weapon does you know, a large chunk of damage, and that way, you know, I'm making sure that I'm not doing a whole ton of overhealing. Here you go, tank's running out for the tank weapon now. Boom, there it goes, penance. Cool, and then just keep smiting, dealing damage while the atonements drop off. Obviously trying to keep the atonements up on the people with traps. Go back to our spot, keeping the atonement up on the tank. You'll see here I'm attacking the spike ball. There was actually a call from our raid leader to hold damage on the boss. This is, you know, just have too much damage. You want this tank weapon, or I should say specifically, we wanted this tank weapon. I think this is the 4th one. To go out before you phase the boss. This is just to give yourselves a little bit more time to make sure your healer CDs are back up. So here we go. I was pre-shielding some people to absorb some of that damage. It's not really a lot though. I found mana to not really be an issue on this fight, especially with the intermissions, where as a disc priest you can't do a whole bunch. But here we go. We're running through the maze. We just pixel stacked on the blue marker. The raid leader was also calling out, you know, left, right, bait if sometimes we wanted to bait the swirlies before we move in. So here was a bait, for example. You could end up getting caught in between the spikes and the balls, which is not great. I was actually using Holy Nova during intermissions. It's instant cast, heals everyone around you for you know, pretty insignificant amount of healing, but it's healing nonetheless, and mana wasn't really an issue. We click on the gateway, we hold, wait for the flames, move out. We actually, someone clicked the gateway too late here. We had this Shadow Steel horror in the middle of the room, kind of a nightmare scenario. We actually managed to survive it, which was pretty lucky. You'll see we killed it, and then I think we were like 0.1 second away from an explosion here. Got my heart rate up a bit. Here we go, keeping atonements out on the chains. We have the balls coming in. Obviously you want to be close to the balls for when the eruption comes out. I have another ramp here. In phase 2, I start the ramp. In phase 2 and phase 3, I start the ramp at 6 seconds before the traps come out. This way you can make sure that you're healing before or as the first trap is erupted. So we go. Also, it took me a while to get used to the dance that you have to do with moving through the balls, avoiding the spikes while ramping at the same time. Obviously, you kind of have to have your attention on unit frames to make sure you're atoning the right people, not stacking, you know, wasting atonements on people already with it. You can also, unfortunately, also get chains as a healer. So you know, and it happened quite a few times. I, you know, unfortunately wiped the raid a few times or killed myself, where I have to ramp. I've also got the chains, have to move through the spikes and over the walls. It's a lot to juggle at the same time. Takes a lot of brain power. So I start the ramp again. I have a PI on myself. I think I waste an atonement here. I'm not sure why. I think I give 2 to this hunter. Yeah, so Radiance. This is a boon ramp. Love the boon ramps. You blast, schism, blast. Go through. Disc is just supremely good on this fight with the traps. You're, especially with boon, you're just able to top everyone up immediately after the blast. Go, keeping your atonements up. I do try and help out on the spike balls when I can, but it's not always yeah, there's sometimes a lot going on. I just want to make a note. In phase 2, we found out that you can actually skip the second set of traps. You see here on the timer here, there's 1.9 seconds till the next set of traps. What we found out was that if the boss is below 45%, he won't cast those traps. Which was good for me, because sometimes the traps would come out and we'd have to pop them, but then the boss would jump away, which means I couldn't really do any atonement healing. So that was quite rough. So it was good for me that we skipped those traps. Unfortunately, it was bad for our druid who had his trank assigned to those traps. So he ended up not using it. But I mean, yeah, there's no healing to be done. I guess that's better for the raid team. Didn't work out so well for his HBS though. So here we go. We skip the traps. Priority is to get over these spikes as soon as possible, and then get ready for the intermission. This intermission, obviously, there's a lot more damage coming out. I'm not sure. The first intermission, I don't feel pressure to do that much healing. The second intermission, I do. You'll see some people, steadily get quite low. I tried to throw out Shadow Mend whenever I can. Obviously, you're pretty much perpetually moving in this, unless you get lucky and you have two gaps next to each other. Penance is very risky, as your character turns to face the person. So if you're standing in a gap and you penance someone, it could turn you. That also killed me a couple of times. Here we take the gateway. There's then a lust. I think we lost our druid here. I think it was a bit too slow. He had a soulstone. No, that was fortunate. Here I am just topping everyone up. Do some damage on the boss. Cool. We have the bulls coming now with the tank weapon. Obviously, you have the whole movement of the chains here. I won't run through that. Have a ramp coming up. This is a Shadow Fiend ramp. We did just lose two hunters here. One of them was benched for the majority of his fight. We brought him in. He hadn't really had that much experience in phase 3, so he didn't have that much experience with the whole movement, so I think he killed both of them. We picked one of them up. Break for the chains. Get to 6 seconds. Start my ramp. It's a little bit late, actually. Didn't realize that. Here come the traps. Get all my atonements out. Okay. Barrier, Shadow Fiend. I actually, one thing I realized while I was watching through this, I was doing Shadow Fiend ramps a bit scuffed. Obviously, typically you go Rapture, put out your powered shields, and then you Radiance, Shadow Fiend, Radiance, Evangelism. I, for some reason, was doing double Radiance, Shadow Fiend, Evangelism. Yeah, anyway. Let's see, so healing through this. We have more chains coming out. There's a lot of damage in phase 3, and what typically happens is in phase 1 you typically have the traps, and then at the end of the traps you have the tank weapon. What happens in phase 3 is that you can have the traps exploding and a tank weapon at the same time, which can cause a huge chunk of damage to the whole raid. And obviously everyone has a you don't see it on my unit frames, but everyone has 20 stacks of the lingering flames debuff. So everyone's slowly being rotted away, so it's important you keep people topped up. Timer for the next set of traps is coming up. Now I was supposed to do a mini boon ramp here. Obviously my Rapture and Evangelism aren't up. My boon, if we didn't skip the second set of traps in the second phase, my boon would have been up on time for this. And typically what I'd do is I'd throw out about 5 shields, do double Radiance, and then go into boon, and then do your boon rotation. And that, it deals a healthy amount of HPS. Obviously, the atonements don't last long, so it's only short-lived, but it does help the raid live through that. Unfortunately, as I said, because we skipped those traps, my boon wasn't up, which I called out to the other healers. Fortunately, we had other CDs available to cover it. You'll see people with traps sort of fall left, right, and center, especially towards the end, as they're just taking so much damage. Here come the traps. My boon comes up, I think, shortly after the traps are done, but it does allow us to get a little bit more damage, a little bit more healing off. I didn't atone before this boon, which in hindsight I should have done. You see, I think we lose 2 of these traps here. So not the traps, the chains. The third one is Dreamweaver Nightface. He gets egged. I noticed that I chuck a pain suppression on him. You see the traps are rolling over him on the right here. I'm not sure if that helped or not. And here we are, just a home stretch, doing as much damage, keeping people as healthy as possible. Oh, and there it is. Yeah, I hope I was able to provide some at least some insight into this. At least my thought processes. You know, what we tried, what worked, what didn't work. Very much open to any feedback from anyone. Anything you guys have noticed when you've been progressing this boss, or anything you think that I could have done better. I mean, I know there's a whole list. But yeah, I decided to make this video. There isn't a lot of disc commentary out there, particularly for Sanctum. So I'm hoping to at least get some videos out there. Maybe if people have researching these bosses, hopefully it's helpful. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully I'll be giving our Guardian commentary video next. Hoping to get that down this weekend. But yeah, until next time, see you later.